All right. Good evening, guys. Good evening. Good evening. Want to make sure I got on here a little before 7. Give folks some time to log in and join or finish up their dinner or whatever they're doing. Because I'm live on YouTube and my IG, uh, Coach Smith 27 tonight. And so I'm just giving some folks a little bit of time. It's not quite 7 p.m. Eastern time yet. Um, so we'll just give it a couple of minutes here, a few minutes, give folks some time to join in. And we're going to talk about how you can achieve some solid scholarship offers for you student athletes. So let's just give it some time and we'll get going. Coach Smith would love the game 24/7. We'll give it some time for folks to jump in here. Be sure you're letting some of your friends and other folks you know that have a student athlete that's trying to achieve some scholarship opportunities. That's what Love the Game 24/7 is all about. All right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. We'll just give about one more minute here and we'll get started. All right. Well, here we go. Here we go.
Ready?
Yes, yes, yes. Are you ready to get this great content from Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7? I appreciate you guys joining me this evening. I'm excited for next week as we prepare for Super Bowl um, opportunities. I know NFL has what they call Radio Row, um, where they get everybody all hyped up and all the different radio shows and podcasts and all those great things are going on. And so I'm going to be doing my own little personal radio row next week. But I want to thank you guys for joining me on Coach Smith 27 on IG and also on my YouTube channel here with Love the Game 24/7 and Coach Smith. And we're all about trying to help you young student athletes and parents understand and master and take control of your athletic recruiting process. So we want to empower you. That's what it's all about with Love the Game 24/7 and what we're doing. We want to empower you. We want to give you the instruction. We want to get you some understanding and clarity on the things that you need to do, young student athlete, young lady, young man, on how to achieve some solid scholarship opportunities for yourself. And so be sure to click on that to my left, your right on the screen for YouTube, and subscribe to my YouTube channel here. And be sure, as I said, you share it with those friends and teammates that you have. You for from the middle school age to the high school age. We want to be sure that we get you young student athletes early in understanding, and parents get you some clarity and some understanding about what you need to do to help your young student athlete achieve some solid offers by the time they get into their junior, senior years of high school. Um, and so we're going to talk about about that tonight. So be sure to subscribe to my YouTube. Be sure to follow me on Coach Smith 27, as well as Love the Game 24_7 on IG, my two IG channels. Be sure you guys follow me there as well. But I went live last night as well, and some folks may be missing me on my new IG channel, Love the Game 24_7. So be sure you start following me there as well, so you can get up to date information on what's going on in the sports world for high school and college athletes. Be sure you do that. So I appreciate you guys passing it on to those out there, whether their teammates, uh, your opponents, in whatever sport you play. It doesn't matter what sport you play, um, and you got to be sure to get connected and get this great information that we will be providing with Love the Game 24/7 and my partner GMB Management Group with Garrett Blair. Um, we're going to be partnering, and I'm a part of the GMB Management Group sports agency. I'm involved with making sure we get the student athlete, high school student and college athlete, some direction with our student, um, uh, area of the business and the company that we work together with. So I just want to be sure I give you that information. Um, and tonight, like I said, we're gonna talk about some things about how you can get some solid opportunities. There's a lot of things, information I saw today going on in the sports world that we'll talk about a little bit. Um, I don't want to have you too long this evening, but I'm excited for you guys to join me. Be sure you join me next week now, because next week I got some good news for you. Okay, next week, as I said, I'm going to be doing my own radio role or podcast role. I'm going to have some special guests. As I've shared with many of you about my own son, Jeff Smith II, who plays for the Arizona Cardinals currently. He spent his first 4 years in the league with the New York Jets. And then he started this past season with the Giants until he had a little minor injury, nothing major. Thank God, no surgery or anything was needed. Just needed some rehab and rest and whatnot. So after that short stint at the beginning of the year with the New York Giants, he uh, took his opportunity to go with the Arizona Cardinals, and he'll be with them starting next season. I'm looking forward to him doing some great things and helping them get to the next level in their season under their new coach. So he's going to be a guest next week. I'll give more information out about that. He'll be on the show and talking about and sharing how his high school recruiting process went, and you'll be able to hear what he has to say, and also ask some questions about his recruiting process. So you'll have him, and he's part of the GMB Management Group family, being represented by GMB Management Group Sports Agency. And then we're also going to have another guest who was his roommate in college at Boston College, Lucas Dennis, who is with the NFL Atlanta Falcons as a DB. So he's going to be a guest as well, and he's going to come on one night and share about his recruiting process and how that went for him as well. And you'll be able to talk to him and hear what he has to say about how his recruiting process went as he grew up and went through high school and college, playing at Power Five football. Him and Jeff playing together. And so you'll be able to ask him some questions as well on my shows next week. So be prepared. And I'm excited about having both my son, and I actually call them both of my sons. And Lucas Dennis is also with GMB Sports Management Group Sports Agency family as well. So he's doing some big things, and looking forward to him uh, stepping up his play with the Atlanta Falcons next season as well. So look forward to having those two guys next week, and there'll be some more things coming as well. But that's what Love the Game 24/7 will have next week for you guys, and look forward to you joining me. So, and I'll be giving more information out about that because I will be live every day next week, starting Tuesday up until the Super Bowl Sunday. So look for Coach Smith going live every day from Tuesday on. Okay, hearing some great things. So um, so I'm excited about that. So to get those two guys on, and then I'll have some other guests. I'll probably have looking to have my college coach on, Coach Doach, have him as a guest, and he'll be able to talk to you from a college coach standpoint about recruiting from his experience, and you'll be able to hear what he has to say and also ask some questions as well. So I look forward to doing that next week for my podcast role leading up to the Super Bowl. But let's jump in right here. About how can you, student athlete, earn you some solid scholarship offers for your sport, whether you male or female, whatever your sport specific is. One definitely thing I want to mention is when you can't your recruiting may not be going the way that you had hoped, that you had dreamed about. Okay, and so, but you got to keep that focus. You got to keep developing yourself. You got to keep doing what you have to do to ensure yourself of having some and earning some solid scholarship offers. Okay, you cannot get frustrated. Or let me just say this: it's going to be frustrating, but you can't live there. Okay, don't live in the frustration. Okay, you're human, and everybody does it. We all deal with frustration. So I don't want to say, let me change that. I don't want to say, don't be frustrated. Just don't live there, or use that frustration and direct it to some positive energy, and be sure that you keep working, you keep doing your part that you should be doing. Be sure you get information like what I'm giving you, and partner with Love the Game 24/7 in the 10-week digital course that I will be releasing here, and I'll give more information about that as we talk tonight. But you have to be sure that just because things may not be going exactly the way you want them to go doesn't mean your dream of playing college sports at the next level won't happen. Okay. And I'm a direct result of that because I knew that I had Division 1 potential. Okay. Um, but I got information late. There was things during our time growing up that we didn't know about because we didn't get a lot of help from our high school coach. We didn't get a lot of direction from our high school coaches. Okay. Um, or at least I should say our head coach. So it's uh, and so because of that, because of not having information, okay, because of lack of information, I was behind. I didn't go to a football camp until I was in 11th grade. The summer after my 11th grade year was when I went to my first ever football camp, and I made sure I let my other teammates know about it. Okay, because they didn't have any information either. We were all in the same boat. A lot of us were left out, to figure this stuff out on our own with no help from our head coach. We had assistant coaches that were great. They did everything they could to help us out. But in most cases, when recruiters come, they're looking to come speak to the head coach. Not saying they won't listen to the assistant coach, but they come to listen to the head coach. And if you have a head coach who's not an advocate with pushing and promoting you, and that's why I said you got to take control. You got to be empowered and take control of your own recruiting. You got to hold your high school coach accountable, but you need to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. Make sure you're being a good player for your coach. Make sure you're being a great teammate, for your coach. Okay, because you'll be surprised. There are a lot of coaches out there that don't really understand recruiting like you might think they do. Okay, because some of them may not have played college football or got recruited themselves. Right? They may have been in the same situation I was in, possibly. Okay. But you have to be sure that you just stay the course, and you have to get involved and follow some good people like myself. And I know there's Coach Derek Tatum out there with elite talent football out of Georgia in the South. Does some great things. There's Before You Go Pro, is another good resource. These are some people I follow as well and that I listen to. Um, and that's I know Coach Tatum does some camps and of things of that nature. I did those things years ago. I'm a little bit older than Coach Tatum, but I started out doing some of those things years ago. I'd rather be on this end now, teaching you exactly what I went through, and I perfected and learned what I needed to do for my own son and other kids that I coach. And as I coached high school football and track, so that's what you're getting with Love the Game 24/7 10-week digital course that I'll be releasing to help you understand and walk you through from A to Z on how to understand this recruiting process in the new environment with NIL opportunities that are going on in the transfer portal that's happening. But just because things may not be going the way you had hoped they would go and that you dream for them to go doesn't mean it's not going to happen for you to go play at the next level. And like I said, myself, and because I had to learn some of this stuff myself and didn't go to a camp and started out late going to football camps. I know if I would have done those things sooner or had that information sooner, from my high school coach or from someone like Love the Game 24/7, like what I'm doing. If I had that information, I'm sure my recruiting would have been much better. Process would have been much better. But we live and learn, and I don't want you to have to deal with some of those things that I dealt with because of lack of information. Okay, and because of that, I still had some Division 1 schools that recruited me and that I got some interest from. I got a lot of interest. Um, Especially from University of Miami when Jimmy Johnson and Dave Wanstatt was our recruiter in our area. So, I said that to say this is I had to go play Division 2 football, but I made sure because I knew I was a Division 1 talent. I made sure that I showed my ability was, you know, a Division 1 type player at my Division 2 school at Morningside College in Sioux City, Iowa. We had a great conference in the North Central Conference with North Dakota State and those guys that you see now. That whole conference that North Dakota State in, pretty much most of those schools in that conference was our Division 2 conference that moved up to FCS like a few years after I graduated because there was always talk about moving that North Central Conference to Division 1 AA, but it didn't happen until afterwards, until after I got out of college a few years later. Um, but I made a point to make sure that I always played at that high level as a Division 1 player. We had quite a few guys on our team in college that were Division 1 players, but because of lack of information, lack of assistance from high school coaches, head coaches, we all ended up there under Coach Jim Lovett, who was getting talent out of Florida and bringing us up to Iowa. And we had some good teammates that were from Iowa and Nebraska areas and other areas, Texas. Coach Doach brought guys in from Texas, Maryland, California, you name it. When he got there and took over the program, so um, so we had Division 1 talent, you know, and we all pushed each other, and quite a few of us got the opportunity to pursue pro football. My older brother before me was a free agent with the Buccaneers and played some Canadian football and arena football. I followed him as a free agent with the Houston Oilers and did some arena football as well, NFL and arena league, just trying to follow that dream, and it happened, but it didn't happen the way I had hoped and dreamed for. But I kept the focus. Okay, and you got to do the same thing. Okay, in this new environment with transfer portal and NIL. But a lot of you kids that aren't ranked, you're not ranked because you don't have the exposure in most cases, or you haven't gone to some camps, and it's okay. You don't need to go to a bunch of ranking camps, but you do need to put yourself out there. We have social media and all those things now, which are great, and I know it would have been helpful to us if we'd had social media back in my day. But there are ways that you can use social media and that I'll be able to help teach you and help you understand that. And there are still some old school ways that still haven't changed about recruiting. That's still the same that you need to do that a lot of people don't realize. Okay, it's not all about going viral on your social media and you think you're going to get a scholarship, excuse me, because coaches are watching social media. No, that's you know I'm not saying they don't watch it, but that's not how you're gonna get a scholarship. They got to see you play. They got to see you making plays on the field in your sport, on the volleyball court, on the softball field, on the baseball field, right? You got to email, you got to write letters, you got to do those things. You want to be able to touch every type of way that you can touch and make contact with a coach. You want to do it, not just social media. Like old schools, mailing a letter is still good. Sending emails, okay, having your intro letter written up the way it should be, and your player profile set up the way it should be, and also making sure that you're playing hard in your area, in your city, in your county, making sure you're on some of the lists, like top, all county, all state, wherever you are, you need to be working hard to be on those lists. Okay, and you, like I said, and you need to hold your coach accountable. You need to make sure you have a good relationship and communicate with your coaches and parents. That's where you got to get involved. You know, I didn't have my father to speak on my behalf. Okay. Um, my mom had no clue. And, she was busy working, trying to make ends meet since, I lost my father to cancer. So mom was just doing whatever she could to make things happen. And I was pretty much trying to, you know, take care of my own recruiting situation. And so Parents, you got to get involved. You got to step up. Okay. And you got to make sure, start now, like I said earlier, when your kids are in middle school, and you got to decide what high school are putting kids in college that are developing, you know, student athletes in their sport. Okay. So just because things may not be going the way you had hoped or the way that you like for them to go, but you still can get yourself some solid scholarship offers. You can still achieve that. Okay. And as you do that, and you get some offers, which you probably can if you're that type of player, and you do the things that you need to do to help you develop your skill, because I'm gonna talk about that here next. It's good. That's the next segue. Now watch this. You gotta be sure that you're not so sports specific that you don't play another sport. That's another reason why some of you guys haven't achieved some solid scholarship offers, because your development, you know, process um, hasn't been that good, probably in your sport that it like it could be or should be. Okay, and coaches can't be a disservice to you by not telling you or not allowing you to go play another sport. We had some coaches back in the day, and I'm sure there's some still today. You have some coaches like, oh no, if you're going to play football, you can't play basketball for me, or if you play basketball, you can't play football for me. To me, those people shouldn't be coaching. Okay, because you're doing your athlete a disservice. And as a coach, to tell a child or tell a student they can't play for you because they're playing another sport, shame on you. Okay, that's utterly ridiculous. You know, and you're doing your student athlete a disservice. Matter of fact, you're doing yourself a disservice, because that student athlete shouldn't just be you shouldn't be forcing them to just play one sport. That is absolutely wrong, and you shouldn't be coaching. I'm just going to flat out tell you. I don't care what coach you are. You're flat out wrong for doing that. Okay, you shouldn't be holding your student athletes back from helping themselves develop. You shouldn't tie them down to playing one sport. There's a time for that to happen, but it's not in high school, it's not in middle school, and it's not in high school. And potentially, sometimes it's not even in college, because I ran track and played football all 4 years. I played football and ran track every year from seventh grade until I graduated college. I ran track and played football. And every now and then I threw basketball in there and played a little bit. But I always did football and track. And one thing I'm going to tell you, there's a sport like track and field that would help develop anybody's um, other sport that they're trying to make sure they develop. As I shared last night, you take a volleyball player, you take a baseball player. I don't care what other sport, basketball. I don't care. You know, you look at a basketball player. They got to have leaping ability, just like a volleyball player, right? You got to have some, good speed and quickness. And if there's one sport that I know that can help a basketball player with their vertical, even a football player needs a good vertical when jumping up to catch the ball, or a defender. You know, I was a long jumper. I tried triple jumping, but I was better at long jumping. I even tried to do high jump when I was younger, right? But there's a sport, track and field, that will help develop anybody's other sport that they're trying to get better at and develop at. And track and field will help you get stronger and develop you. If, like I said, if you're trying to work on your vertical, go learn how to long jump and triple jump or high jump, right? And learn how to lift properly to strengthen yourself. Okay, you know that's one thing you want to do. You want to help your offensive lineman learn how to do pass block better, and let them go throw the shot put. All right, teach them how to throw the discus. How to spin and keep their balance. Because with these fast guys now coming off the edge, that offensive tackle better learn how to kick back fast and have some balance and have some strength to be able to slow that edge rusher down, so he can get paid and make some serious money. And so there's one thing I know, that a shot put in discus can help an offensive lineman, as well as wrestling can help rush ends, can help offensive linemen, can help linebackers, right? That's another great sport that they help develop football players, or um, track and field can help, your soccer player, and vice versa. Okay. So you got to get out of that mindset of being sports specific at such a young age. That's not going to help you. You got to develop your skill. And the one way to help you develop your skill is playing other sports. And you got to make sure also you get enough rest when you transition from one sport to another. Like when I used to transition from football to basketball, I sometimes took like a week or so off, you know. And some coaches got to learn how to allow that to happen. You can't just throw the kid in there when they left one sport and they're coming to your sport. Don't do a disservice to your student athlete coaches. It's your job, right? You can't always blame the student athlete. You got to take some responsibility. And parents, you got to take some responsibility. The kid needs to get a little bit of rest. I'm not talking about no month, a week or two off. They're young, maybe a week or so, a week and a half, 2 weeks off from as they transition from one sport to another. The kid needs a little break, but you still should be doing. You shouldn't sit down and not do anything. You should do some light lifting, maybe do some pool work to help work some soreness in your muscles, that kind of thing, to kind of help your healing process or recovery process. Swimming is a good thing to do when you're taking a break from one sport and transitioning to another, but you definitely need to do a little bit of jogging as well. Um, those kinds of things help you transition from one sport to another while you take a little break before you go into another sport, because you got to gradually, transition and get your body ready to adjust and make that adjustment. Um, so parents, student athletes, you got to be responsible. It's all about communication as well. Communicating with your coaches, you know, and parents, you got to step up, especially when you have an athlete that's performing and doing that has a skill, that has the ability, and potentially can get scholarships in multiple sports, right? And so I know when my son was getting recruited when he went to Boston College on his trip, and talking to other recruiters that recruited him for football, they would always ask, "Man, what other sport do you play? Do you play another sport?" And when you can sit down and tell them, "Hey, I'm excelling in baseball," because my boys played football and baseball, and did very well at baseball. I wish I would have put them on the track, to let them do track and field. But recruiters want to know, when you're a type of kid that has some skill set and they know you can go, that you're competing and doing well in another sport, when they do their due diligence to see how well you're doing, not just in your sport specific sport that you're looking or pursuing a scholarship in, they want to know how well you're excelling at another sport. That makes it more appealing on why they should recruit you even more, because you're dominating and you're doing well and competing at a high level, right? You're not just a all city um, volleyball player, but you're all state, all city, all county in track, in the high jump, triple jump, long jump. Okay, it's about giving yourself options, right? You know, you may end up getting a scholarship in a sport that you may not have thought that you were that good at, and you excel in that sport. So you got to be sure you take every opportunity, okay, to get everything out of your ability and your gifts and talents that you've been blessed to have. You want to make sure you do everything you can and utilize that to help pay you some dividends, get you a scholarship. Possibly you can get some NIL opportunities. Who knows, right? We got people going viral. Like I'm trying to go viral right now and helping you understand what the recruiting process is like. Okay, I'm out here. I'm not just here to help student athletes. I'm here to help some coaches. I'm going to be helping my buddy who I played college ball with, Stephon Pearson, at Sioux City West High School in Sioux City, Iowa. He got the head coaching job, but wants me to come out and talk to his middle school and high school student athletes and parents later on before the year ends. And because he wants to be sure, because he has some kids that he knows that he's coached, and that he's going to in middle school level, that's going to now be able to coach them at the high school level, that have potential to play college football at the next level, whatever level that may be. We don't know yet, because it's all about helping you student athletes develop. There's nothing like helping develop kids who are good, kids who kind of like, man, he look like he might have something, or she might have something there, and you work with them all season and throughout their high school career, and they get a scholarship because, man, you've helped them develop. You've seen them grow, you've seen them understand their sport, and do the things that you um, have worked hard to help them learn, and help them develop. I mean, there's no greater feeling, other than playing the sport yourself. I've learned it as a coach over 10 years of coaching. There's nothing greater other than playing, than seeing a young person and help them develop and see them acquire a scholarship in that sport. That's a great feeling. It's a great thing to see. So I'm here to help you get through and navigate through this process of the athletic recruiting process from A to Z. That's what Love the Game 24/7 is all about. That's what my 10-week digital course is all about. When I release it later, here in February, early March, that's my plan, is to do that one night a week for 1 hour or so. Um, for all those who want to purchase and receive some coaching on that. I'm going to have some different speakers. I'm going to give some more details about what that 10-week digital course is all about next week. Doing leading up to the Super Bowl, and I'm also going to be offering some great things that have come along with that I'll be sharing. That's going to be awesome in helping parents and student athletes get to the next level of what you dreamed of happening one day. And I make no promises about what level because it's on you on how well you develop and how you're going to be committed to the process, and what your coaches are trying to get you to do and understand what kind of work that you're putting in, you know. And so you got to be sure that you are willing to put that work in. And it's tough. So, you can't be worried about, how somebody else recruiting is going as well. Okay. You got to be sure you just stay focused, on what you need to do specifically. Okay. You can learn from someone else who you might feel that you're just as good at or good as or better. And you may be wondering, like, man, how did they get some of these scholarship offers that they say they have? And be careful about listening to everything because some people may not. And some coaches sometimes will give offers out there and they may not be as solid offers as you think. I don't know. So but that's not something to worry about. But that person may be having offers because there may be some things that they're doing that you aren't doing. And you can learn from that. So you might want to ask them, hey, what are you doing to help you get those offers? Because because you know inwardly you don't, and you feel that you're just as good or maybe better than that person. They might feel that you are. They know you're probably good athlete. Game recognize game. We all recognize that when you're an athlete. We all recognize game. We all know who can ball and who's not all that, right? Um, Whether they are the better than you or not, it doesn't matter. There's some. It doesn't mean you're a better person because you're better. You may be better at performing in a certain sport than somebody else. It has nothing to do whether you're a better person or not, because there are some things that people are better at than other people, and vice versa. Or people can develop and become and get better. Okay, but it's not. So don't have this attitude as if you're better than somebody because you can excel in one sport, just as good or better than someone. I mean, that's great. Let's just learn how to help each other and make sure you get everything out of your gift and talent that you've been blessed to have. Because there's a small window of opportunity. Because as you get older, you're not going to have, you may not have opportunity to be able to get a scholarship. Some guys go off to community college or somewhere trying to still get a opportunity to play ball somewhere, and because you didn't do certain things because you did some things late because you didn't realize your coach wasn't helping you like you thought they were. That's I want to help prevent those things from happening, to you young student athletes. Okay, I want to help you get started early. Okay, and help your parents understand this so that way when it's time for you to determine what high school you want to go to, kind of help teach you how to decide. Because I was very picky about what high school both my sons were going to go to because of their athletic ability. I wasn't just going to let them go play for just anybody. If I had to move and relocate somewhere, which we were considering that for um, where he played, we were gonna do that. We were gonna commit ourselves to do that. That was my investment, you know, because when you look at how much school tuition and all that stuff costs, I understand and know because I'm a college administrator in the financial aid office as assistant director. So I know, and you can go look at any college and go into their search box and put in cost of attendance so that you students and parents can start getting an idea of what college is going to cost and how because you can potentially earn yourself an athletic scholarship and look at how much money you're going to save yourself, compared to somebody that doesn't have that skill. They may be very smart and might get merit money and get some great academic money. But when you have a gift or a talent, I don't care if you play in the band, you know, I don't care if you can stand on your head. If they give you a scholarship for it, you want to get that money to help reduce, you know, you getting in any kind of debt situation for paying for your education that could be avoided. And I don't, and sometimes when I hear some student athletes say, well, I think I don't want to play at the next, I don't think really care about playing college. And you're a good athlete and you're not really thinking about the financial burden that's going to come with you trying to go to college and paying for college, right? It's a great thing, but you got to understand, go look up some of those schools that you're interested in. And in the search box, you put cost of attendance in there and then click that submit button, and then look at what it costs for in-state and out-of-state tuition based on what schools you're going in, whether they're in your state or out of your state. Okay, you want to do everything you can to help save yourself from having any kind of financial burden. Okay, guys. Okay, young ladies. This is serious, serious stuff. Okay, and whatever, however way you can help your parents not get into a financial burden and avoid those kinds of things. It ain't time. It's not time for you to retire from your sport. And parents, you got to be careful that you don't push them too hard to where they lose their love for the sport. But they understand how, look, it's a job. You know, playing college sports is a job. That's why you're getting your education paid for. That's why student athletes should be able to get some NIL money, right? Because it's a job and you deserve that. You know, I don't like hearing this stuff about, we hear about the transfer portal. Um, and some people say, kids are weak. And I don't disagree with that. Or they're soft, I should say. You hear that sometimes. They're like, some of these kids are transferring because they're soft, this and that. There's some of that. I'm not going to say that's not true. There's some of that, but you got to understand, um, there's more transitioning with coaches as assistant coaches than there are with head coaches. There's so much movement every year with assistant coaches move, you know, and with head coaches sometimes. But it's definitely always assistant coaches moving. And who recruits kids more than anybody else? Assistant coaches. Not saying the head coach is not involved, because he is involved. Okay, he's put his time in, and now he's a head coach. And so now his assistant coaches, those new assistant coaches, or those guys that have been assistant coaches, they're doing most of the recruiting and traveling around the country. Okay, and sometimes the head coach will travel depending upon, you know, where their kids are 4 or 5 star, 3 star kid that they're really high on. You're going to see that head coach go on visits, just like my son had when he was getting recruited to Boston College and some other places. Okay, um, Ryan Day, the head coach at Ohio State, recruited my son to Boston College. He had dinner at our house. Coach Adazio, the head coach, Coach Fitz, the quarterbacks coach. You know, my son had people, calling and visiting him. And when Coach Day, my son didn't get to play for Coach Day, but he was the one that got my son, recruited my son, and my son decided that he wanted to go to Boston College. But as I told my son, it can't just be about the coach. It has to be about, do you like the area? When you took your visit, did you get to see some of the guys, how they carry themselves, how they act, the atmosphere. You get a feel for it when you go on visits. And that's a great thing to be able to do that. And you should do some of that, while you're young, so you can get an idea of some areas that you might like. But definitely when you get, your visits, your 5 visiting opportunities, you want to take those to try to get an idea. You want to go to camp at some of these places as you grow up to get an idea, right? Of, do I like this area? Do I like the atmosphere? I got a chance to be around some of the players a little bit? But definitely when you go on that weekend trip and you get to be, stay in the dorm and hang out with some of the guys, you get to see some of, how it really is in some instances. Okay. And how you might match up with some guys, you know, and some guys might try you to see how tough you are, you know. And so you got to be ready for all these things. That's what 10 Love the Game 24/7 wants to do, to make sure you're prepared for these things, so you're not surprised. And those are the things that I talk with my son about, so he would be ready. Okay, you know, um, and so so it's not all about kids are soft. It's why the transfer portal is the way it is. It's that some of these assistant coaches are moving around, and it's hard. You got some real good assistant coaches, and they build good relationship with these guys, you know. And then they leave because, hey, they're trying to feed their family. They're trying to go to the next opportunity. They're trying to maybe be a coordinator or a head coach. Okay, and they got buddies or whatever. They got moved up, and the buddies like, hey man, I don't want I want you to be an OC for me now, or pass game coordinator, so they can make more money. And they're helping each other out, right? Because they know I can trust this coach. We started out together, so you get a lot of movement. And so sometimes that's why that student portal is the way it is. Another reason why that student portal is the way it is, because of those assistant coaches moving around. That coach that didn't recruit you, right? He's left, and now there's a new coach coming, and that coach didn't recruit you. He might feel some type of way about you. He may not be as confident about your ability as the guy who recruited you. Coach Day, when before Jeff could even hit the campus, he'd already decided he was going to take a job to go to the NFL, and he should. Rightly so. He got to take his opportunity when it comes, and these assistant coaches have to do that. But you got to make sure you prepare your student athlete, your young lady, that young man to be prepared. And hey, when you go to this school, I want you to see: do you like the area? Do you like because of the education and what you're pursuing? Um, do you like your teammates? Those things have to be more important because that coach could get up and leave and take the next job somewhere. Okay, and you don't want to be um, in a situation where, oh, I'm leaving, because the coach is leaving. And sometimes some guys are going to leave because some coaches are going to ask some of their players, hey, I'm taking this job. When Coach Lovell was at Morningside and he had opportunity to go to Kansas State, he mentioned it to me saying, hey, might want to consider transferring if it's something you still want to do and play Division I football because we could use a good all-purpose running back, and I considered it, but because of lack of information, I was a little fearful, so I didn't do it. And we had a good coach that came, so that helped, So I want to be sure to help you in those situations. But those are some other reasons as to why we have things like that going on in the transfer portal. Coaches leaving, new coaches coming in that didn't recruit you. And so they put pressure on you that, hey, you're not their guy. You're not their girl. Okay. Those things happen. Okay. And so um, you got to be sure you're prepared as much as possible. Okay. I'd rather you know about these things than to learn these things, you know, at that instant. No, you need to know some of these things up front and early before they happen, not when they happen. Okay. And so that's what Love the Game 24/7 is all about as well. We're going to help give you information. We're going to help empower you. We're going to help teach you and educate you so you're prepared. So when things do happen, it's no surprise to you. And you know how to handle it, or you have a resource that you can tap into and get some advice. Okay. And as well as parents, get some advice. Okay. Um, and like I said, when Ryan Day, came visit our home and said, "Hey, I want to let you know that I'm leaving and going to with Coach Chip Kelly, my former college coach, to the Philadelphia Eagles." And then he went on to the 49ers for a period before he got the Ohio State coaching job. But you know, I have a lot of respect for Coach Ryan Day, for reaching out and making sure he could have just left and didn't say anything, but he didn't handle business that way. I have a lot of respect for him. He didn't handle that. My son was one of his top recruits when he was at Boston College, and he had, you know, um, he took the time out to visit us and then tell us, hey, he would like, Jeff would do well there, and but he was going to be moving on, and he just said it's a great opportunity for his family. You can't help but respect somebody that comes and does that and let you know that that's what's going on. But all coaches don't do that. And sometimes it's not that they don't want to. Sometimes they may not be allowed to. Who knows what the school tells the assistant coach? They advise them. So sometimes you can always fault a coach when he leaves and doesn't say anything. He may have been told that he couldn't. Okay, so there's a lot of different reasons. It's not that all these kids are soft. Okay, that's part of it. It is some of that. Some of these kids got to be learn how to be tough mentally and learn how to step up to the plate, even though a coach may come in. Like I said, the new offensive coordinator came in, and my son just decided to wear what he saw the writing on the wall, and he just said, "Look, I'm just going to change positions to make sure I still keep myself a high opportunity to play at the next level." And he got that opportunity, and I didn't doubt that he would, no matter what position he played. But I know he was a really good quarterback you know. But if you're at a program where they're not giving you that opportunity, and he decided to stay, ultimately, like I told him, it was his decision, and he decided to stay. Um, and it worked out for him still, So you got to be, I made sure to give him all the scenarios, the things on how some things will go, and he'll tell you that some of what his dad did tell him happened just like that. And this is how you got to respond when you get the green light and get your opportunity. You got to light it up. No, I don't care if it comes, however many times it comes. You got to make sure you show and you represent that you can play at the next level. He's a 4.2, high 4.2, low 4.3 guy as well. His time wasn't as fast as his dad still, but I think he was 4.33. I ran 4.29, 4.31. You know, so I still can have that hanging over him. But he did play in the league much longer than his dad did. But a lot of that had to do with what I learned and what I'm going to teach you guys with my 10-week digital course. Okay. I make no guarantee about somebody making it to the pro level, but I know there's enough colleges There's enough universities. There's enough college sports and athletic scholarships out there at every level, from Division 1, FBS and FCS, okay, and Division 2, that you should be, young lady, young man, should be able to get you a scholarship if you maintain your grades and good test scores and you work on your development and you do what you need to do, um, and make sure right nutrition. That plays a lot as well in your development and how you perform, right? So you just can't eat anything. I don't care what people tell you. You make things harder on yourself if you don't eat right. You wonder why you didn't play in a game well. Watch this, because doing pregame meal, like I had to convince my coach back at the high school back at Clovis Central Catholic, Coach Davis. I had to convince him because my wife was a nurse and nutritionist, and she was like, "Why are they so flat?" And she would ask me, "What did they eat for pregame?" I was like, "Oh, they had baked chicken, some pasta, blah blah, you know." And she said, "Well, what is that it? Gatorade?" I said, "Well, they had some cookies or some cupcakes, this and that." And she was like, "Er." She said, "Tell Coach Davis right now, shut that down. Stop giving them cupcakes and sugar and all that stuff during pregame meal, because he's gonna be out there yelling and saying some expletives because he's frustrated." And she's like, "Well, let him know, because when you get sugar in you, it's going to take you up high and it's going to drop you real low when it wears off. And now you got to try to figure out how to recover." So we did change some things on what we would give our kids during pregame meal and during halftime break, with bananas and oranges, sliced oranges, and Gatorade. And you can save them cupcakes and cookies and all that stuff after the game, okay, for the bus ride back, or in the locker room if it's a home game. Save that stuff for them, because come Sunday and Monday they got it run. They're gonna have to run that stuff off. Okay, they're gonna have to work out the soreness and work off whatever it was that they ate after Friday night lights. Okay, so you have to be in that. That's important. Okay, that you guys got to understand. When um, and all you're getting, get some understanding. And once we learn that, because that does affect. Just because you're young doesn't mean you can just always eat whatever you want. If you want to develop and perform and give yourself an opportunity to play at a high level, you got to be careful about what you're eating. Okay, and be careful of all these protein things. Be sure you know what you're doing from your doctor or nutritionist, whatever, your pediatrician, parents. You got to step up. Make sure you know what your student athlete is eating. Okay, what they're using to help build strength. There's protein and all those things are good. Okay, but you got to know how to eat, and you got to know how to weight train. And because some of you guys don't properly weight train, and we're going to talk about that as well, and educate you on the proper way to build muscle, and gain weight. Because the best way to gain weight is muscle weight, not fat. Okay, how to build muscle to put on weight. And so there's a lot of different things you student athletes need to learn, that I learned, and ready to help you know get you guys where you need to be to help you develop. Okay, help you develop. You need to get this information. And so, like I said, I'm going to be providing more and more detail. Okay, because this 10-week program, I'm telling you right now, this is your call to action. What you need to partner, you need to join with Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7, because I'm going to make sure that I do give you all the information to help you develop and be all that you can be, to help you increase your opportunities of getting a athletic scholarship. If you're that girl, and if you're that young man, and you have the ability, mom and dad, there are some kids that I've seen at young age, middle school age. I knew my son even before my son was elementary, just how much he loved running around and playing, a lot of different sports. Both my boys, Um, so when you see a young girl or a young boy with that energy and they have a love for a particular sport, but you got to keep them doing, a few different things. Okay, keep them active. You got that child that got so much energy. Find that sport. Help them find a sport that they really like. Lacrosse, field hockey. I don't care what it is. That's your 529 plan, right? That's your investment. Because when I look at what it costs to go to Boston College, you're talking about over $250,000 in 4 years. Okay, is what that scholarship costs. And he did his part. He trained based on that scholarship. He met everything that he needed to meet every year, right? His training, his lifting, all the things that he needed to learn about his position and how to help the team win and be successful and get the bowl games. He did his part, made his academics like he needed to. Okay, and so he did his part, just like all the other guys on his team. They did their part to earn that scholarship. Okay, and to bring people in the stands and excited about the BC program. You know, but to go back a little bit, when I talk about like assistant coaches leaving, I can speak on this today on this news that came out today. This is Thursday, February 1st, where Coach Halfley, Jeff Halfley, when I talked about coaches leaving, right? Who knows um, all the reasons why he left? Coach Halfley came out. He was coaching pro ball with the uh, Shanahan family connection. He's a part of that, you know, and LaFleur, coach with the Packers, right? So here we got Coach Halfley, who's done a pretty okay job, decent job. I'm gonna say it was great, it wasn't terrible. Okay, he's done a pretty decent job, but he's now leaving to go be the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. He's leaving Boston College. I can speak on this. I'm part of the BC family. My son played and graduated 3.5 years from Boston College. Got his degree, great degree. You know, love going to Boston, going to games. Got a lot of great people um, that we got close to and still have a great connection with families and all those good things. Love going to Boston. Okay, love going to BC. Um, but like I said, here Coach Halfley is leaving, going to take an opportunity to get back in the pros and be a defensive coordinator now because he probably had aspirations. He's not wrong, and so our kids aren't wrong. Our kids are just more aware, right? With social media, they're more aware of the opportunities that they have to earn, you know, some name, image, and likeness opportunities. So we can't get mad and say they're weak or this or that, but just be sure you keep it in its place because some of you all might not be getting some solid scholarship opportunities because some of these folks might think, or recruiters might think, you're more into the viral and stuff and not necessarily developing your sport. So, you know, not that they're hating on you doing it. They don't mind you having that. But you got to make sure you're always focusing on developing your sport. And if you do focus on that, it is going to give you more opportunities for NIL. But don't let that take precedence over you developing yourself in your sport and helping your team be successful. Okay. So that's what sometimes why it hurts some of you student athletes. And we're going to learn and talk about social media as well with our 10-week digital course. Right. So that's why I'm saying it's important for you guys that when I release this information and the things I'm going to break down next week through the Super Bowl um, um, podcast week with Love the Game 24/7 and Coach Smith, I'm going to be sharing some good stuff on what we're going to be bringing, in partnership with GMB Sports Management Group with Garrett Blair. So I'm telling you, you know, be excited and be ready. Okay. And so that's part of what you need to do, parents. You need to be on these shows, with your student athletes, getting this great content, getting this information from Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7 via my YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, guys, on my IG with Coach Smith 27 and Love the Game 24_7, right? And so you guys need to be following me and liking me and sharing and letting other people know who need some direction with their recruiting process and how to empower them and help you take control of your recruiting. Okay, because it's your responsibility. Okay, and you need to understand where the responsibility of your high school coach lies and where it is for you and your parents. Okay, and don't let any coach tell you, no, parents need to be involved. Okay, I don't even when you get to college. All right, that's don't let anybody tell you or misguide you or any of that. Okay, so be sure, right? This is what you need to do, student athlete and parents. You need to subscribe and follow and get ready to get this purchase this 10-week digital course that I'm going to be releasing and get ready to do. We're going to do this for 10 weeks, one night a week, and then I'm gonna potentially have two more bonus weeks added to it. That'll be nothing but question and answer situations. So we're going to get into it next week. I'm going to share a whole lot more during Super Bowl week. Like I said, my son Jeff Smith II with the Arizona Cardinals is going to be with us one night. Lucas Dennis with the Atlanta Falcons is going to be with us another night, and you're going to be able to talk to those guys about what their recruiting process was like, okay, and get some answers, get some direction, okay, and you're gonna be hear how it went for them and how they prepared and did the things that they needed to do, and tell you about how sometimes my son wanted to go to certain parties, and I'm like, hey, you know, we let the leash out a little bit because you got to let them do some things because one day they're gonna be leaving your house in college and they're gonna be able to go wherever they want to go and do whatever they want to do. So you can't just you can't um, hold them back from not doing some things. You got to let them do it, but they got to learn how to decide. There are some things you that's okay for you to go to, and there's some things I really don't need to be there. Right? I need to get my rest, or I'm preparing for a big game, or I got some college coaches coming. You know, your daughter's a baller on the tennis court, um, or on the golf course. So there's things that they need to do. But hey, we can't just not let them do anything. Okay, we got to make sure you know, um, you got to give your student athlete somebody else sometimes to speak into their lives. Because sometimes they get to the point where they don't want to hear from parents all the time. They do, they hear you, but I had to learn that same thing. So I learned to find people or coaches and other things um, that could speak into my kids' lives to help them listen and hear. And now that they're older, they're like, yeah, they appreciate it. So look for me this Saturday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7 to be back with some more great content. Um, but I always have my ear to the ground and listening about different things. But I'll come with some more great content on Saturday morning at 11:30 Eastern Time. And then, like I said, next week from Tuesday on, I'll be live every night, and we'll be get into a whole lot of different things. So make sure you do your part, student athlete. Make sure you connect with Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7. Parents, okay? We want to make sure your student learns and do their part. This is your call to action, right? You need to connect with things like Love the Game 24/7 and Coach Smith and make sure you get your student athlete every opportunity, to use their gift and talents and abilities to pay them some dividends. So until Saturday, 11:30 Eastern Time, um, have a blessed evening and the rest of the week. Take care, guys.